Visible Welding is pleased to present a series of video presentations covering the WeldWatch-EDU weld tutoring system, which was developed with major funding by the U.S. Navy through the NSRP program. This video will cover the more advanced features of the station. These are not normally used, but can be handy in unusual situations or for those special demo effects. Hi, I'm Steve Edelson, and I'm going to show you some of the more advanced features of the WeldWatch-EDU system. So I'm going to start with the playback and how you move things between keep and temp. So when you record things automatically with the students and so on, they automatically go into the temp side. And so here's different temporary things we made while we were testing. And so let's say we have a video we like, and I don't like any of these. I'm going to scroll down here and say, I like this one. So what you want to do is you want to move this from the temporary directory into the keep directory. And so what I'm going to do first is I want to rename it. So I'm going to hold my finger on here, and a little menu pops up, and it says move to keep or edit name. First thing I'll do is edit the name. See if I can touch that guy. And then we're going to put the cursor in there, and we're going to backspace, edit the name. Okay, and now we can delete what was there, and I'm going to say long intro. And I'm going to use this video later to show you another feature. So now we have the name changed. I'm going to hold it down again, and I'm going to say move to keep. We're going to press this top one. And he's now been taken out of the temporary list. He's moved over to the keep list. So if we go over to keep, these are remember our permanent videos, the demos we want to keep forever to show people. And you see it right at the top, long intro. That's the one we just moved over there. And these are stored in alphabetical order on the keep because that's tests have shown that's the best way to find things that are permanent as opposed to by time and date, which the temporary ones are. Okay, so let me show you some of the things. Other features are best shown on the advanced panel. So if we come to camera, any of these, you go to settings, and each of the settings panels has a button for advanced. And here the advanced features are divided into categories, so it's easy to find it. And we're going to just go down through these in order, so it keeps things simple. So we're going to start with the camera settings. And at the top here, this is detailed resolutions. Remember, on the camera panel, there are fixed standard resolutions. In fact, I'm going to quickly show you that just so we keep together here. So on the camera panel, here's the standard resolutions. And this is 99% of the time, you just leave it at one of these settings. But every now and then you want something, you got to spread your wings and you want to do this. So what we have up here is the width and height. You can type any number you want in here for width and height, obviously within the bounds of the camera. And then we have centering. So by default, it's 640 by 480 and centered in the center of it. But we have, if you want to maybe move it to the left or the right, you can specify offsets. So now I can put a number here and say, how of that 640, 480, maybe I want it 30 pixels to the left or 100 pixels to the right. I can just type a number in here. I'm going to tempt fate and actually type something in right here while we're demoing. And when I do this, if I were to close this, this guy would move to the right. Let's see if we can see it with this. Okay, so he's now moved. In fact, he's moved so far that we're off the metal piece. Let me see if I can, I'll just move this around and show you how far he's moved. There we are. And so anyway, you can move the pan up, down, left, right from the center. I'm going to put him back in the center now. We'll go back to our advanced panel. Settings, advanced. Okay. And I'm just going to say, no, I want it centered. There's two other options here on the left. There's two automatic modes for centering it. And one is called a digital pan for arc centering. And what this will do, within the range of the camera resolution, it will automatically pan to keep the arc in the center of the screen. And this can be very handy in a fixed installation where the arc and the camera, maybe you couldn't get the camera in just the right position, you wanted to have it and you couldn't do it, and this button will automatically center on the arc. I won't show it now, but trust me. And then this one, arc following, is for manual welding to follow it. If you center the arc automatically and you were to move your hand, it would look very strange because the arc wouldn't move. In fact, the metal would be moving in the background. The world would be shifting as it centers the arc. So what we did is we put this as a compromise. And what it does, it actually moves the arc half the distance that it would need to get to the center. So the net on screen is, it looks like the arc's moving half as fast as it was, and you get double the width as you move. So it gives you a wider range, but you still get that sense of motion for the arc. Okay. Again, these are advanced settings, and you probably will never touch these, but I wanted to show you that they're here. Okay. We have a couple of options for low light, and I'm going to focus this first before we do this. And we're actually in a pretty well-lit area here. By default, we have low light averaging on. And what this does, again, this is for setup, arc off. It's not when the arc is on. None of these things affect that. But you get these speckly noise. I mean, you get this on any camera in dim light, and it's just part of the physics of the camera. And we do averaging. If you take 2 or 3 frames and you average them together, the noise goes away. And so we turn that on. I'm not sure you can see here, but it's very speckly here. And if I turn this on, it gets very smooth down below here in the dark areas. If you really, really have a dark scene, this comes up more in industrial and in school situations. We have an extra long time exposure, and it gets brighter and smoother again. And this is something that's you're going to see a lag. The frame rate drops. It's not something you would want for using, but for setup, if you're in a dim booth or something, it can be a lifesaver to turn that on. And the last thing here is we have a low light noise reduction. I know these are all noise reduction, but this is a special, it's called pattern noise, and it's in every camera. And what this does is the camera is measured and recorded what its properties are, and that's compensated. So that's a per camera thing. And the way you do that is you would run this low noise calibration, this button down here, and it would run automatically through a cycle. It takes about 30 seconds, so I won't do it right here. But at the end of it, you're all calibrated, and you can turn this on. So I'm going to get back to our defaults. So those are the camera advanced settings. I'm going to collapse the camera panel and open up the picture settings. And remember, the picture is for the on-screen. The camera is for gathering the image in from the weld and getting it in recorded. And picture is all about how it's displayed. It doesn't affect the recording. So we have annotations. In fact, we already have some annotations on the screen. We can turn those off or on. When you turn them on, you can see the other panel. And we have date, we have time, which we are both turned on right now. We can change the color, we can make them yellow, depending on what your background is. You might, if you had a light background, you might want a dark. You can even make them black. And you can also move the corner. We're in the lower right now. You can see the check mark in the lower right, upper left, lower left. Now it's coming into conflict with where our volt amps is, which if you remember from our other video, you can move this guy, and that's in the picture settings panel. Okay, so let me move them out of the way here. And we have another thing called on-screen text. If I can get my finger in there. And this allows you to have one line of text that's going to be shown, and it's going to be shown right above here. So let me just type on-screen text. And in fact, even as I'm typing it, you can see it showing up here. And this is something you might use. You might say this is unit number 1. You might say this is Billy's first weld. Whatever you want to be on screen, you can have it on screen. And that will be recorded as well. So if you were to make an AVI file, that would become permanent. Down here, we have another category. So this is all about text. The date, the time, that random text you want. But you can also draw on the screen. And you may want to do this to annotate. Maybe you have giving a demo and you got a big crowd, and you might want to show where the seam is and what the best line is. So you can draw with lines. And I'm just going to draw a line here, and you can stretch it out. You can see it going. And I might say that's the path that you should take with the welding. When there's freehand, I might say, and here's what you really did. And you played a video or whatever. So whatever you want to do. Or sometimes people, will go make a little arrow and point to some defect or something. So it just allows you to communicate to your audience exactly what you want. And again, you can change the color of these, and you can make them. I'm going to scroll this down a little bit here. Make the lines thin, medium, thick. Okay. So I'm going to turn off the drawings, clear them, turn them off, and go back to there. But that allows you to, these are the advanced features for picture. All right, let me move on to the advanced features for video recording. I'm going to close picture. I'm going to open this up. And there's only a few settings here. And they really have to do more with the disk management than the recording. That's why they're advanced. So remember, there were two directories for our videos. There were the temporary ones that we keep and throw away as we need space, and there's the keepers, the demos and the permanent things you want. Well, they by default go into some folders. This one goes into visual welding /videos /temp and keep. So that's where they go by default, and that's where people normally leave them. But you may have a reason why you want to put them maybe on a D drive or some other place. And so this allows you to change that. So you would just push the button, and it brings up a normal Windows, and you just browse to the folder you want it to go, and that's where it'll go. Okay. Nice and simple. There's a limit you can put on, and again, by default, the limit is for the amount of disk space that's taken by the temporary videos. They will eventually fill the disk up. Videos files are very big, and so we put a limit here. In this case, we have 100 gigabytes selected, but you might have a bigger disk or a smaller disk, and so you can say, I want you to do this. It's about a gigabyte a minute, so I have it set for about 100 minutes, which is almost a week or so of typical classroom videos, by the way. On the other side, you can, if you didn't necessarily want to limit that, you could set another limit here, and that's the minimum free disk space. So this is saying you can record as much as you want on the disk until you get up to this limit, and then you can't, because you want to save a little headroom. You know, maybe you have some word processing you're going to do here, you have some other things. You don't want the disk to be 100% full because you'll then get all kinds of disk full errors. So by default, 20 gigabytes is reserved for miscellaneous things. But you can make that bigger or smaller here. Okay. I'm going to move on to the last setting category here, and these are miscellaneous settings. The top one here is, it's highlighted here, 60 seconds. This is the amount of time that the panel will stay open before it automatically closes. So we could close it, and we can hide it like this for full screen. But that 60 seconds says if I don't touch anything for 60 seconds, maybe I have the picture settings open, I was adjusting the brightness. If I just ignore it and go back to welding, in 60 seconds it'll automatically give me a full screen just like this. All right, let me go back there. Advanced. All right, back to miscellaneous. So 60 seconds is the default. You can make that shorter or longer. If you make it 0, it'll never close. I'm going to leave the panel open. All these settings, sometimes you have a need to have a setting preserved. You want to come back to it. Maybe you have how you have it set up for doing MIGs, and you have a different setting for TIGs, or you have a different maybe settings for places you'd move the setup where different lighting or whatever. Whatever it is, whether it's just a personal preference or a technical reason, you can save the settings all to a file and bring them back. So we have one special one. This is Save as Power Up, and if I push that button like I just did, every setting I have here has now been saved. And next time we start the program, that's the way the machine will be. It'll remember your preferences. The other thing is we can just save it to a file, and this allows us to have a name. So I can say these are Steve's preferences, and you might have Joe's preferences and Jane's preferences. And you can save those off, and then that allows you to say later on, I want to load from a file, and there I'd go and open Steve's file and say these are my preferences, and they're back. So limitless number of things you can store. And the last one here, which I'll be brave and push it. This is reset to factory defaults, and it warns you. And this is going to take every setting that's on the system and put it back to the day you got it from the factory. So all else fails. No matter how you adjust it, you get it out of kilter, things are behaving funny, you don't know what to do, return it to factory with this setting here, and that will get you there. Okay. Cancel. The last button here is not for setting. We call this advanced information, and these are some of the more technical aspects of the operation of the camera. And this is used really for diagnostics. If you were having a problem and you were to call the factory and say, our camera's not playing right, not recording, I'm having a problem, we might ask us to read this panel to us so we could see that. Okay, well that's it. Those are the advanced settings. There's two other things I want to show you on the system here. And they address issues that sometimes you have in the field. The first thing is, because it records when you start the arc, often you will see a lot of the recording is off screen. And I'm going to play one here for you. And this is a MIG we did. And I'm going to play this one. And we're playing it, and you can see this is the pre-record. Amps are still 0. Here's where the arc is struck. You can see the amps went up. But we're still off screen here. It's playing along, playing along. I'll strengthen it down. Now finally, 5, 6, 7 seconds into this video, we see the arc. Now we have 2 solutions for this. And the first I'm going to show you is in the play screen. We come back to the play video, and I'm going to start this one over. We're going to go backwards. I'm going to hustle back fast. Okay. So now it's ready. And what I'm going to show you is this button is called to arc, meaning you go to the arc. And what it does is it automatically fast forwards to where the arc shows up, because the computer knows when the arc is visible and when it's not. So I'm going to start playing the same one again. Remember, it was about 10 seconds before it showed up. And I'm going to start it, and the amps are starting, and I say to arc. And now it fast forwards, and when the arc becomes visible, now it slows down to 1x, and it plays normally. So you get impatient, you don't want to waste some time, just push the to arc button, and it'll come right in. Okay? So that's one solution that helps you when you're playing. But let's talk about making a video, and maybe we just want to trim that out. We just don't want to have that be part of the video. So the way you would do that is very simple. Again, I'm going to rewind it back to the beginning. And the way I do that, I just play it backwards. And when it gets back to the beginning, what we're going to do is we're going to record another video. So when you're recording, you can record the camera, but you can also record from whatever's playing as a video. So we're going to play this video, and we're going to record a new video, but we're going to start the second video when it's at the spot we want. So what we do is quite simple. We can either do it on the fly or not. So I'm going to just play this a little bit until the arc's coming into view. And here he comes. I'll fast forward a little bit. And here he is just about to come onto the screen. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the record thing. And here we could record by hitting that button. And then we'd have to switch back and we'd play really fast. But we're not going to do that. If you look here, it says under record, Control R. So we have a speed key. So you don't have to be on this panel. So I'm going to go back to my play screen. And I'm going to push play. And then I'm going to hit Control R. And now we're recording and we're playing. You can tell we're recording. By the way, the little indicator here in the status says it's recording. The frames are being counted. This is the record status. And we're just recording along. And we're recording not only the video, but the volts and amps are also being recorded into this new file. So maybe that's as far as I want to go, and I want to stop it. And I'm going to tell you that Control T is stop. It's right next to the R, so you can remember that. Or I could have gone to the video screen, hit stop. So I've now made a new file, and we can find that one. It's in a temporary directory at the top. And you can see now it's the top of the temporary directory is our new recording. If I play that one, you'll see it starts right where we were with the arc coming on screen. Volt and amps are playing just as I did in the right one. And one more fine point I'm going to show you, the time and date. If we look at this, this is the time and date it was recorded. It's not the time and date I edited it. The time and date stay with the weld. So that was the actual moment it was recorded originally. Okay, so another thing I'm going to show you now is a way you can enhance an area of the screen. And to do this, I'm going to put that video back to where the arc is visible. So we're just going to back that guy up a little bit. He'll be our guinea pig. So we're going to go backwards a little bit and get him in the middle. I'm going to pause. And we're going to go to the picture screen, and there's something at the top here that we didn't show you before. There's an enhanced region that you can put on the screen. I'm going to turn it on. And what this does, we enable it. There's this area, and you saw it just sort of highlight there for a second. That's the default in the center. I'm going to show you how to move it. We're going to put that over the arc. And what that allows us to do is change the brightness and contrast within that circle. In fact, I can do that right now. I can make that spot bright. Now you can see it showing up. So we have different controls for what's inside the circle and what's outside the circle. And what that allows you to do is really get a nice highlight. And I'll put it over the arc in a second. We'll show that. So the way you do that, you go to Settings. Once we're in the Enhanced region, when you go to Settings, we get a different picture settings screen. This is the Enhanced region settings. Okay, it's enabled. And I'm going to draw it. And that allows you to just put it wherever you want. So I'm going to put it this big. And you see it, even though it's round, in fact, it has a square back. And I can move this around. Okay. Put it right over the arc. And you can also do a picture-in-picture and put that picture over here so you can move it around. So I'm going to just put it over the source, and I'm going to go back from the settings screen to the picture screen, and now I can change that crazy brightness that we have. Come on. It might enhance the contrast. You can sharpen. And so you can actually bring up the highlights there. This may not have been the best video to do this on, but trust me, this can be a dramatic improvement if you want to highlight something. Enhanced region. So again, if you disable it, which is the default, main image, these are your controls for the whole screen. Or you can turn on the enhanced region, have different controls for inside and outside that. So just a couple of tricks to help enhance your image, and I wanted to show you these. Thank you very much. I'm Steve Edelson, and this is the WeldWatch-EDU. As we say, watch the weld, perfect the weld. Thanks a lot.